Good.
Good.
Beautiful
Are you
day.
all doing good?
Beautiful day today.
Yeah, it is. Are you out back, Justin?
Oh yeah, I had 2 days. My kids are all in school. Finally, they went back, and I had to sit out back. It's just beautiful. It's probably what 60, maybe 70 today. Beautiful.
I bet it's quiet too, now that the kids are all gone.
Oh, do you know how hard it is to get work done when you have 3 kids screaming, man? I tell you what, even if you set the time to do it, it doesn't matter. So,
Yeah, it is very difficult. That's one of the biggest things with real estate is being able to manage our time and being focused. And it is difficult to be focused when you have young children running around and all that kind of stuff because they don't understand. But that's okay. So anyways, I'm glad everybody is here, and I hope that I'll be able to provide some value to everyone today. I've been in real estate now 20 years. My background, basically, I'll kind of run through my background real quick so everybody kind of knows me. And in fact, when I go to do a listing appointment, I always run through my background first because it helps me. Hello. It helps me feel confident for my listing appointment because basically it's something that I know about. So when you go in and do your listing appointment, the first part of objection handling, and this is just a listing appointment, is to talk about something you're comfortable with. So I go in and I tell people this, and it helps me build my confidence. It kind of helps break the ice a little bit. So I'll tell people that basically I kind of go all the way back, but I try and do it quick. So we moved to Arizona in 1975 from Chicago. I graduated high school, went in directly into the Navy where I was a yeoman, which was like a assistant to the skipper of the ship, kind of like a Radar O'Reilly kind of thing. And I did 4 years in the Navy. Then just before my last cruise, I met my wife, Emily. She was a single mom with 2 kids. And we got married. We dated for, I don't know, maybe 6 months. That was 38 years ago. And I know. And so we got married. And well, actually, I brought the family down to Arizona. We got married. Then I left and went on a cruise for 6 months, 3 days after we got married. Came back, brought the family back to Arizona. I went to work for Kelly Temporary Services. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of Kelly Temporary Services, but back in the 1980s, they called us Kelly Girls. So I was a Kelly girl. That's true. That's an absolute truth. It was in all the, everything, all the brochures, everything else up. Hire a Kelly girl. Because it was basically administrative type stuff. Because when I was in the Navy as a yeoman, that's what I did, administrative stuff. So we came back to Arizona and I worked as a Kelly girl, different assignments for the first year. I was Kelly girl by day. Then I delivered pizzas at nighttime. And then on the weekends, I would DJ corporate functions and weddings and parties and stuff like that. I actually made more money as a DJ than I did the rest of the week doing a regular job. But it wasn't the career path that I felt would be good for my family. So I was getting various assignments around the valley as a Kelly girl, and I landed one at Xerox Corporation as a receptionist because the receptionist was out having a baby. So that was an assignment that lasted a couple of months. Then they brought me on as a secretary. Then I worked my way up to executive assistant, to the district manager. And then I had an opportunity at a sales job, which is what I really always wanted, but I didn't have the college education, so they weren't going to hire anybody without a 4-year degree, but they happened to have a assignment that nobody wanted. They couldn't fill it. It was down in South Phoenix, kind of Southwest Phoenix, where I had to sell copiers and fax machines and stuff like that. Now, this was back in the 1980s. So there wasn't a lot out there back then except for scrap yards and stuff like that. So I had that job for about 5 years selling copiers and fax machines. Then I made a transition into the hospitality business. And for 10 years, I worked at a place called the Scottsdale Plaza Resort as a national sales manager. And at that job, I worked basically with pharmaceutical companies and medical equipment companies, getting them to bring their national meetings and regional meetings and all that kind of stuff to my resort, which was privately owned. So that was a great job until 9/11 happened. And then when 9/11 happened, it was very similar to the pandemic in some ways, except much not as bad. But that pretty much put me out of a job overnight. And I had just literally closed on our house, my wife and I, like 2 weeks before 9/11. Then 9/11 hit, and I had zero money coming in and a brand new house. So it was a little disconcerting. The good thing is I have a wife that's really great at saving and budgeting. So we had enough money in the bank where we could survive for a little while. So I felt sorry for myself for about 2 weeks, and then pulled myself up and decided I got to do something. And so I went and got my real estate license. And I thought to myself that real estate was really similar to the hospitality business, because in the hospitality business, I was selling meeting space, sleeping rooms, food and beverage, and things like that. And somehow in my mind, I equated, I guess, rooms to real estate, like selling houses. Except the good thing was, the more I thought about it, the more I thought that real estate was the thing for me, because I could have unlimited earning potential. Whereas in the resort business, if the meeting space is already rented out or sold to somebody, you can't sell it twice, right? So a lot of times you dig up an opportunity and not be able to do it because the space was already sold. And I thought, wow, real estate's different than that, because there's a million houses and a million opportunities for me to make more money. So that's when I got my real estate license. And I went to work for Century 21, Arizona Foothills. And I was there for 10 years. And I kind of worked my way up from a newbie agent to somebody that was the top guy at the company. Then I moved over to HomeSmart after 10 years there at Century 21, because the fees, that's what happened. We got into the crash, right? I don't know how many of you guys were doing real estate when the market crashed the last time, but what happened was the market crashed. And so the fees that I was paying Century 21 and all that kind of stuff didn't work out for me. So that's when I transitioned over to HomeSmart. And I went to work for HomeSmart, and I was there for 8 years. And I went up to basically being the #2 in production at HomeSmart every year for like 8 years. And I was a branch manager and stuff over there. I kept getting beat every year by the #1 guy. So I was always #2, but you know, I was a bridesmaid, never a bride, but it was okay. And it worked out good for me. Then I wanted a little bit of a smaller feel because, you know, HomeSmart was getting so big. So that's when I came to work with Mark and Jeremy. And I've been here now, I think 3 years, and it's been great. I really love it. And I'm remodeling my office upstairs, Kelly. Wait till you see it. Can you hear me, Kelly?
Yep, I can't wait.
Did you notice how I put brown paper over my window so nobody can see what we're doing in there?
It's causing quite the stir. Everyone's wondering what's going on.
I know. I knew that was going to happen. I knew there was going to be like, everybody's going to go, what's going on in there? I've heard all kinds of things, you know, from people that they think is really going on in there. And some of it is a little bit on the edge, you know what I mean? But anyways, okay, so let's launch off into objection handling. Objection handling is the key between surviving in real estate and going out of business in real estate. And the first question that I have on the list is, it says, why is it that no one teaches how to avoid objections in the first place? That's a really good question. Who asked this question? Could you please pipe up if you're here?
You know, I
No?
have the list in front of me, so I know who it is actually, but I don't know if they're on the call. Robert Parsons.
Robert Parsons, are you here, Robert? No? Maybe Robert's out selling.
Yes, we hope.
Okay. This is a good question. And in fact, it's a really great question. And I'm glad it's actually the first question, because the easiest way to avoid objections is to address them up front, knowing what objections the client might have already. Okay. So, and hitting them up front without being shy about it. Okay. By that, I mean, for instance, when you're getting ready to say, do a listing appointment, you're going to know that that person who is talking to you is also, you know, going on the internet, and they're looking at Open Door and OfferPad, and they're doing all of these kinds of things. And so they might, you know, they might start throwing objections out at you as to, you know, why should I work with you when I'm working with these people? So you got to kind of know what these objections are going to be ahead of time, so that you can address them in your spiel without seeming without seeming like you're scared of it. What's the word I'm looking for? You know, like it's it's not something that you're freaked out about. You know, this is something. This is normal. This is a normal business plan that some places have, and it may or may not work for that person. So it's really hard for me to kind of answer this question because it's so all-encompassing. But I think by answering some of these other ones, we're going to be able to clarify that. So any questions yet? Who asked about the price guarantee?
Kristen
Kelly?
Nelson. Yep, I'm looking. Kristen Nelson.
Kristen, are you here? This is funny. They're asking questions and they're not here.
I know that she's not on here.
That's okay. Okay, so Kristen asked price guarantee. What does she mean by the price guarantee? Does anybody know what that means? Price guarantee?
I don't.
What about you, Kim Baldwin? What's the price guarantee?
Perhaps they're thinking that maybe by looking at other websites, Open Door, et cetera, that maybe that they would pay you to list it, say for $3,000, not understanding all the work that goes into it, research, professional photos, helping them stage their property, educate them, everything else. So for some reason, a lot of people feel that this is free, and it's not, and they don't take into consideration all the training you've taken, your certifications, and everything it takes to become a professional realtor. So I think people think it's cheap, and these other companies kind of, I feel, disqualify our professionalism and our experience and education.
Right. Now, that's a very good observation. Some of you may or may not know, but when Open Door came into Phoenix, they actually hired me to do some consulting for them for about 6 months, trying to help them get their deal off the ground. And, you know, that when you come up against this kind of an objection, the best way to handle it is to, you know, first off, tell the clients there's different models for selling a house. And sometimes that model, the Open Door model or the Zillow model, will work for a client. Okay, there's certain instances where a seller needs certainty in the sale, certainty as to when they can close on that house, certainty as to being able to have a cash buyer. So when they write a contingent offer, right, that they already have their house in contract with a cash buyer, which makes them a little bit stronger. And you don't hide from this stuff. You tell the client this stuff. You explain it to them, and you gain their trust because you're going to be the consultant, okay? Now, the thing that the clients don't think about, okay, which is what you really need to share with them, is what can happen if things don't go perfect with their transaction, right? So I've been doing this long enough, and for people that haven't done it for a long time, you can always use the company. You can always use, well, our company has had clients that have had a legal matter happen. Okay, so for instance, when you're talking to the client, you're going to say, you know, it's great to have some type of a price guarantee that somebody's going to buy your house and everything's going to be great. But the fact of the matter is 99%, I'd say 95, I'll say 95% of my job comes after the home has sold. Okay. Do you guys understand how strong that is? Because in this current market that we're in, where we have been made a commodity, basically, and that's what Kim was saying. You know, you've been reduced to a commodity. Who is the cheapest person out there? Do you guys all hear that? You guys get that a lot? Oh, well, this person's going to do it for 2%. Why should I do this with you? Well, the fact of the matter is only, you know, a very small portion of my job is getting an offer on your house. In fact, the easy part is getting the offer on your house. The hard part comes afterwards, right? So you have to put fear in these people's minds. For example, we just had a closing, and this is what I tell the people. I'll give you an example. Where they go like, what do you mean after the sale? I mean, somebody, you know, we close on the house and off we go. Well, no, it's not true. Do you realize, Mr. Seller, that there's all kinds of things that can happen after the sale that can affect you financially? We just had a deal last week where we closed on a house and the buyer came back 3 weeks later with an attorney wanting to sue my seller for non-disclosure and for some issues they had with some of the repairs that were done. So if you're going with a limited service agent or somebody of that, you know, or maybe somebody that's newer, maybe a family member or somebody like that, will that person know what to do? Will they have the knowledge and the experience to be able to get you through a situation that could cost you a ton of money? Does that make sense?
That's when your buyer walkthroughs are very good to have as a seller's agent. Gotta have.
Correct. Who is that? Who said that?
That'd be me, Justin.
Let me see if I can find you, Justin. Okay, so extrapolate on that a little, Justin. Keep talking about that. What are you saying now?
So I usually, if I'm listing a property, I request that the buyer's agent, I always say, hey, are you going to, and I know it sounds awful to say as forward, but I would say, hey, are you going to have a walkthrough? And then if you're done with your walkthrough, may I please have a copy of the walkthrough form? It doesn't alleviate them. They can still sue you. It can sue anybody, but you can always ask them why they didn't have a reinspection done. Because I had a property I took a buyer to, and we did, I think, 2 or 3 re-inspections on it. And it's the difference between, you know, partnering with a great team, you know, like you guys, and then partnering with somebody who's a discount agent. Because that discount agent, when they go to list the property, I know it sounds mean, but 9 times out of 10, I'll walk all over them. I definitely will, because they don't care. They're getting paid $2,000 to list the house. I'll bring every single inspector that I know in my pocket for that buyer and give them a list of who they want to choose to take out there. And I'll be like, look, you guys reserve the right to inspect, re-inspect, all that. So just know that before you close on the house, you know. But some of those guys, they don't care. So they just leave it, but I always request that. I'm like, hey, did your buyers do a walkthrough before they closed? And I'll even send an email and be like, hey, did they do a walkthrough? And I'll ask them, because if they didn't, that's going to come up and I'm be like, well, you could have re-inspected it. I always ask about that stuff,
So what you're saying is you're representing a buyer that's going into a limited service listing.
Yeah, if I do, I'll always let them know, hey, this is a limited service company. I know that sounds mean, but I always let my buyers know, hey, I know this company, they're a limited service company. Make sure that you evaluate the living daylights out of this company, because they're not expecting you to do that. So evaluate this property to high heaven. And I'll explain that to my sellers when I list a property too. I said, hey, if we get a limited service company coming in and offering, just know it is a limited service company. And I usually will use that to handle objections before they come up to in the appointment.
Right. Limited service provides exactly that, limited service. And so if you're going up in a listing appointment against a limited service company, the thing you don't want to do is ever say anything negative about the company in a really forceful way. But what you said, Justin, was good. You just tell them, because you don't want to seem like they're real competition for you. So if you're going up for a listing appointment and you're up against a limited service company, a great way to handle that is just to do kind of like, hey, you know what, you can get a limited service company, but like I said earlier, and I'm talking about the listing, 95% of my job comes after we get the contract on your house, okay? I'm not sure if the limited service person's going to be there. In fact, sometimes they expect you, Mr. Seller, to negotiate directly with the clients, and the clients really aren't vetted that much. The agents aren't vetted that much. And that percentage that you're saving in the listing commission, will pale in comparison to what could potentially be the downside after you get a contract. And the client will say, well, what do you mean? Like, what kinds of things could happen? Well, for instance, the client, you can, sell your house to this client, and you can go and think that you have your house sold, okay? But that client might cancel, within the first 10 days or so, because the limited service agent that you hire isn't really isn't talking with the other agent. They're not working with the other agent. If you have an issue that comes up that could blow the deal up, I'm going to be there for you, because that's what I do 100% of the time. There's a lot of downside to what happens after the sale. So yeah, you got to be really careful with that kind of stuff. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? Whoa.
I got a question. We talk about all the downsides after the sale and everything. Now, obviously, we definitely want to get after the FSBOs to be a full service agent and all that. But I'm just looking at we talk about the issues with if something were to happen to the house. I'm just trying to get maybe a list of at least maybe 5 things that were. Okay,
here we go. This is super simple. So your question is, what are those downsides, right? What's the 95% of our job, guys? Well, number one, what blows up deals right now quickest? There's 2 things. There's appraisals and there's inspections, okay? So if you're talking to a potential listing and they say, well, why should I hire you? You're like, well, 95% of my job comes after the deal. Like what? Well, for instance, homes have been going up in value dramatically. So we're having appraisal issues left and right. What I do is I will actually meet with the appraiser or talk with the appraiser before they come out. I'm going to give the appraiser a list of homes that are most like yours that have sold. I want that appraiser to have the comps, because Mr. Seller, this is how it works. The appraisers are so busy, okay, that they have one of their assistants pull comps before they go out and value a house, because they don't have time, right? So they have one of their assistants pull some quick comps that they think are like your house, okay? And then the appraiser goes out and they take pictures. They have to take pictures of the front of those houses that they're going to use as comps in their appraisal. Okay. So what I do is I make sure that I reach out to that appraiser first and give them the comps I want them to use. And 9 times out of 10, these appraisers being overworked are going to take those comps. Okay. And then they go out and they'll take the pictures of the ones I want. Because I can tell you one thing, if you talk to the appraiser, and most agents, Mr. Seller, won't even talk to the appraiser. Okay. But, and by the time that appraiser goes out and takes pictures of those other comps, they're not going to go back out and then, you know, and take my feedback. It's too late at that point. So I send them the comps first. They go out, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to use my comps. Then I'll also give them a list of upgrades that you've done to the house, upgrades or improvements. And I'm going to have a conversation with that appraiser. That appraiser is going to get confidence in me. I'm going to make the appraiser's job easier, and I'm going to be able to help get that higher price on your house. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yeah, one more thing I was going to add. You're saying.
Yeah, that's number 1. Keep going.
Yeah, one more thing you were going to say. You know, you talk about the 95% of the job after sale. You're talking about after it goes under contract or after
That's correct.
the close of escrow. I got confused between, you know, the close of escrow and then, you know, under contract. I mean, I just kind of misinterpreted what you were explaining.
No, you're okay. No, what I'm talking about is when you get a house in escrow, okay? Yeah. You could tell you guys, you can write these down. You can tell your seller, you know, 30% of the time right now, homes are blowing up in escrow. Okay. And it's because of appraisal issues. It's because of inspection issues. It's because of buyer financing issues. What you need to do when you do these appointments with the clients is you got to talk about you got to shift your mind a little bit here. Okay. Because what a lot of agents do is you go in and you go, oh, you know, I'm going to do so-and-so for you. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I've got all this experience doing this and that and the other thing. Whoops, hold on a second. But what you're not doing, oh, fuck, hold on a second. Okay, are you guys there?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, are y'all there?
Yep.
So what you need to do is you need to shift your mind into more about the nuts and bolts of real estate, okay? Because everybody can stick a sign out in front of the house, and everybody, you know, pretty much has the same tools, and the buyers can go on there on the internet and find stuff and find values and find everything else. So you got to shift the whole conversation about to the downside of working with somebody else besides you. So that's where I come in with the 95% that comes after the sale. So we work with the appraiser, okay, to make sure that we can get that value, because 30% of the time, the homes are falling out of escrow because of appraisal. The other issue is because of buyer financing. That's another big issue right now. So you go to your seller and you go, have you seen one of these? And you show them a pre-qualification letter. And they go, well, yeah, that's a pre-qualification letter. And then I say, guess what? It really means nothing. And people want to know, how can a banker or a loan officer fill this thing out, right? And say that we've got a good buyer. And then, you know, we get into escrow, and then I find out the day, you know, you find out the day that you close or the day before you close that this seller or this buyer cannot perform. What happens then, Mr. Seller? What happens to you then? You've been off the market for a month, okay? Then we got to start all over again. How do I alleviate that? Okay, I do that by, number 1, knowing which lending companies have good reputations and which ones don't. So you explain to the client that if they go to somebody like a big bank, like let's say the pre-qual letter from their buyer is from a large banking institution or something like Quicken, okay? I got to tell you, Mr. Seller, that when I get one of those kind of pre-quals, it's a little bit of a red flag, because they do millions and millions of loans. and the lender's underwriter doesn't even look at that file, your buyer's file, until about a week before you close escrow, okay? That's the problem right now, Mr. Seller, by calling first of all, the agent and seeing if they know who this loan officer is at this institute. Have they done any business with them before? Okay. And then I also will call the loan officer and take them through a series of questions. Loan officers are just like anybody else. There's some new ones. There's some ones that have been in the business a long time. There's ones that know how to look at a file and ones that don't. So I'm going to protect you, Mr. Seller, and you always got to put it into, you're talking about them, the seller. That's part of objection handling. Always make it about them, why you're doing things. You're doing it to save them from whatever. And so you could tell them that you're going to call, you're going to vet the loan officer. If you think there's any issues, then in some occasions you might respond by having in a counter offer, and I'll tell the seller this. Sometimes I require that the buyer gets vetted through a lender I know, okay? That does two things, by the way, guys. It helps you with the lender to get some business from the lender that you work with, but it also does help you vet the client. So it's two good things to do. So the client is like blown away that you're even talking about this kind of stuff, because it's like asymmetric warfare. They never expected this. They expect you to go in and do the same thing that everybody else does. That says, oh, well, I'm with a big company. I do this, I do that. I put a sign out. I get great pictures. I've been through I don't know, whatever the different categories are of, registered this and professional that, they don't really care about any of that stuff, okay? Because everybody's going to say the same thing. You need to switch it on them and talk about the 95% of things that happen after the home is in escrow and how you're going to protect them from that. Does that make sense? Change the mindset, okay? Put fear in their heart, because the thing about clients is they want to sell their house or they want to buy a house. And you have to think ahead of time before you meet with a client. What is the motivation? Why are they doing this? Usually when somebody is selling a house, it's something like, it's usually, it could be a divorce. It can be a job transfer. It could be a lot of things. Usually it's not good when they're selling a house. Buying a house, there's a lot of objections there too. People are all nervous and scared right now. Buyers are, aren't they? So I want somebody to ask me a question. I'm doing all the talking here. So if somebody quit being shy, somebody pipe up. Bridget, you got anything for me? Come on, Bridget.
I'm just listening, so.
Well, are you getting anything out of it?
I am. Thanks.
Okay, what about you, Matthew? You got something?
Is that why? Because I just put my video on. Yeah. My son is here too. He's a realtor. We work in California now. We used to work up in Prescott, but we were having that issue here where we were competing with like the limited services, whatever. And we would always talk about the differences in marketing and strategies. And now with having to do here in California, we're a little bit more strict. We're not allowed to do open houses still, stuff like that. But I love this point about talking about the 95% after the deal, because I have seen some of those things where it says, please send offers to Jack and Lisa, the owners of the property, and have, so now we're going to kind of just have a different spin on it to where we talk about that and, instilling a little bit of fear in them of all the things that can go wrong,
Right. Right. You got to make them bleed, and people don't do that. Agents don't do that. You got to make them bleed, and you got to scare them, and you're not manipulating them. I don't see it that way. I see it as giving them a clear idea of what could potentially happen to them. Yeah. People are in la land when they sell their house. They just think, oh, I'm going to sell the house and I'm going to make all this money and it's going to be great and everybody's going to sign everything and off we go. So you got to change that mindset, both with buyers and sellers, and you got to tell them about the nuts and bolts. Most of them don't understand that 95% of our job comes after the deal and how we have to deal with the clients. We got to work with the agents and everybody else. So that's good. Okay.
Yeah. And I want to say quickly that interesting enough that out of 95 or the majority of all the 50 states, the majority of the real estate lawsuits are here in California. And since we moved back here, I've seen things where notaries are notarizing signatures that the husband signed when you're right in front, when the wife's really signing. I've seen deals where, I mean, some crazy things in contracts where buyer's agents are writing in saying, we want $14,000 buyer cost. Part of that to include deficiencies in commission. I mean, so if they're getting fee, I mean, it's crazy here. I'm thinking, damn, is anybody ethical? But so that's easier for us to scare them, you know, with what you're talking about.
Yeah, nobody is ethical right now because there's just too much money on the table. And unfortunately, it's a dirty business that we're in. I mean, it is, it just is. So we have to be careful. We have to protect our clients and we have to protect ourselves even more. So, but yeah, by telling the clients all of the things that can go wrong, you know, you don't want to be negative. You got to do it in the right way. But like the first question was talking about avoiding objections before you hit them. If you kind of take everybody through this, I was
going to ask a question because I popped
and you do that switch and you talk about the 95% of your job afterwards, that's going to answer a lot of their questions and maybe alleviate some of them beforehand. So Kelly, how are we doing? Anybody asking any fresh questions?
Yes, we did just get one. Your favorite tactic when sending out an offer?
Okay, so as a buyer agent, who asked the question?
Randy Thompson.
Oh, hey, Randy. My favorite tactic is number one, I want to, I got to prep my buyer first, okay? You need to prep your buyer for what the current market conditions are. They understand that it's a seller's market. Some of them do, some of them still don't. But the fact is you got to prep the client for the fact that it's going to be rough and that they're going to get beat up and that we're going to take this in two phases. The first phase is going to, and you're going to tell your buyer this, you're going to say, hey, Mr. Buyer, we're going to take this in two phases, okay? Because the buyer is going to think in their mind, you just want to get an easy commission. That's why you're telling me to do what you're telling me to do. You know they're going to think this, okay? So you have to hit it up front ahead of time. And this is objection handling beforehand by prepping them, by saying, look, it's a crazy market right now. And you're going to think what I'm telling you right now is crazy, what we're going to offer on this house, okay? But this is the strategy now. We're going to go in and we're going to, in phase one, try and beat the rest of the competition out of there, okay? There's going to be 15 offers on this house, okay? So we're going to put together an offer that the seller can't refuse. Then, if we get to that phase, we're going to have an opportunity to claw some of that money back when we get into the inspection and the appraisal phase. Now, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But there's a high likelihood that we're going to be able to claw some of that back, okay? And by the way, Mr. Buyer, I just closed on a deal, and this is the truth, guys. I closed on 2 deals last week where we got the first one after the appraisal and everything, and it was all said and done for $9,000 less than what the buyer agreed to, okay? And then the second one was $12,000 less than what the buyer originally agreed to, okay? Now, I'm not guaranteeing I can do that for you, but we're gonna try. But we're not gonna get anything if we don't get up to bat. So we at least have to get up to bat. So this is what I propose you need to do in order to get up to bat, okay? So that's the client side of it, the client you're representing, okay? Before you do all that, of course, you're going to do the analysis and you're going to send them an analysis. And the thing that I see all the time is analyses that are way too complicated for the clients. And they just get, you know, you send them, I see people just send like a spreadsheet with homes that have sold. Just pick 3, click them, right? And if you guys know how to insert a link in an email with the 3 comps, right? Instead of sending them sheets and sheets and sheets, I just do a little email and I say, okay, here's the house. Click on this link below. This is going to show you the 3 most recent sales that are like this one, right? And then in the paragraph below that, you're going to do your little deal. Like, okay, I advise you to go in at this price and do this and do this. So you have it all lined up real easy. So now your buyer is prepped, okay, for whatever offer they have to do. And I tell the buyers, I say, you may have to vomit when you sign this, but you'll be happy when you get the house, okay? So you just do it like that. I always say too, I go, this is not like HGTV, okay? That's not a reality show. That's actually a fantasy. So get tough, okay? So that's prepping your client. Then what I'll do is I always call the realtor. I'm surprised how many times I just get an email with an offer in it. But I actually call the realtor and I try and build a little rapport with the realtor. I might laugh and say, hey, I got one for the pile, but I wanted to chat with you for a few moments before I send it in to you, okay? If you can get that agent on the phone, you'll find most of the time that agents are pretty open to talking. And if you can just kind of somehow build a quick rapport with that agent, so you guys, you know, it doesn't have to be adversarial at all. In fact, being adversarial is counterproductive 99% of the time. So the worst thing you can do is call the agent and say, oh, well, I'm not seeing anything even close to that listing price you're asking for. You know, what you're going to do is you're going to call the agent. You're going to break the ice a little bit, maybe chit chat about how crazy things are, you know, just warm them up. And then talk a little bit about the house and ask them, you know, what's the most important thing other than the price, obviously, to your client, your seller? Is there anything else? Does your seller need certainty in the sale? We know that, right? We know that seller wants to sell that house and move on with their life, and they want it to be as hassle-free as possible. So when I'm talking to the listing agent, I let them know that I've worked with the lender for a decade, whether I have or haven't. I tell them that. Of course, I prep the lender, you know, so they know that if they get the call. I make sure that the lender knows the offer is going in and that the lender is on the email that I eventually send so that they can call them. In the email, I talk about my team, how I have a full-time transaction manager who's going to make everything go smooth, and how we're going to get everything done in the first 2 weeks and then cruise to a close of escrow. Here you're dealing with the anxiety of the listing agent and the anxiety of the seller. Okay, that's what this is all about, really. A lot of this, our job, objection handling, and our job in general is handling people's emotions. It just is. So you're going to want to alleviate the anxiety that listing agent's going to have by taking your offer. You know, you could say to the listing agent, look, you know, whether I'm doing it or not, I'll say, look, I know what the market's like. We're just going to throw all our cards on the table. We want to make this work. The buyer wants this house. They're not going to back out. I've got a solid team in place, a solid lender in place, a solid title company in place. We're going to make this. It's going to be the easiest deal you've done all year, honestly. And maybe we'll even close early. And by the way, does your seller need to stay in a week or two afterwards? We're open to that. You know, whatever you can do to make that agent feel comfortable that you're going to be the one that's going to close this deal and not all the other agents out there. So that's the best way to kind of approach that. I know that was kind of a long description, Randy, but that's going to make the difference. That's going to push the ball forward for you guys. So you have to make sure, though, that you're structuring your offers so that you're protecting your buyer at the same time putting together an offer that's going to get accepted. Okay. Anything else? More questions? Any more questions so far? No new ones?
On that same question, somebody else chimed in about how much time you're giving the listing agent to consider your offer so it doesn't get shopped.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's a great question too. Okay, so everybody is seeing now that, oh, we're gonna, accept all offers and then we'll decide on Monday or Tuesday or whenever we get around to it, kind of thing. So the best way to handle that is to, number one, it really doesn't make any difference. The seller is going to respond when they respond. I normally ask the agent, because I'm trying to show the agent that I'm non-confrontational and that me and the agent are in a semi-team, right? That's what you want to do, because they want to get paid and you want to get paid, because we're in the transaction business. We're not in the let's fight business. Let's be in the transaction business and make this go good for both your client and my client, and let's move on, right? So it is important that you have that type of communication with them to hopefully move that ball forward, okay?
Good. Question about having your seller do a pre-home inspection to avoid disputes with the Binzer.
That's a really good point. And that is something that I have done in the past to have the home pre-inspected. There's two good reasons for that. And that would be good in your presentation also, your listing presentation. To have the home pre-inspected so that way when buyers come in, they know that that house is in good shape. And you could potentially throw out some as-is contracts, like have them take it as is. But number one, it's good because it also, first of all, number one, you know what's going on with the house, okay? And then the seller can use it as leverage during the inspection period. So when the buyer gets their inspector and says, oh, the roof is, is shot, and so's the AC, then you can go in and say, oh, well, no, we have this inspection here, and there was some minor roof repairs and things like that. They've all been completed. Here's the receipts. So it's a good idea, and it's a good way to, when you're in a listing appointment, show the difference between you and the limited service agent, because you're going to suggest that. And I think it's a great idea. Any thoughts on, oops, it popped away. What was that? Any thoughts on what?
Dealing with a low appraisal, even after you've done all the things you mentioned. I'm the listing agent on this one. I'm not sure challenging the report makes sense, having done this before. I just got the low appraisal call while on this webinar. Thanks, Neil.
That's okay. Do we know what the financing, what type of financing it was?
Max, you want to speak out?
Was it VA,
Yeah.
FHA, or conventional?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
I think I'm unmuted. Okay, great. Yeah, no, I got, multiple offers, every single one of them overqualified, way over 20, they're all conventional, a cash offer. So nothing like that. They're all great offers. And I spoke to the appraiser, actually. I emailed the appraiser. I made sure I kind of, as best I could, vetted them without offending, right? You've done
Right.
appraisals in this area before, all that stuff. Sent them my 6 best comps, and the contract price is $230,500. The appraisal came in at $226,000. So
Okay.
I also told my sellers that this is going to make a new if we get this contract and it goes all the way to close at 230,500, you're setting a new high in this neighborhood. So I said all along, this, it could, you know, I've chosen the agent, and all good agents. So a difficult thing to do, but I said at the very end, we could end up with a situation with the appraisal, and I just want to know how you're going to take it. Like I was trying to spoon feed them a little bit. And so now we're here. I even had this conversation last night because the appraisal's been delayed like 2 or 3 days, actually over a week, because one appraiser called out sick, had to get another appraiser, all this. So now I'm dealing with this situation where we're basically 2,000 low.
Yeah, okay. So you're representing the seller?
Correct.
And you prepped the seller ahead of time, which is good. You told them, hey, you know, this could happen. You know, we're at all-time highs and appraisals are all over the place. Did the buyer request in writing to have the price reduced?
No, in fact, this is the one thing about this offer that made it that we chose this one, is because this offer was the only one that actually offered to go over appraised value by $2,500. Everybody else, that, I mean, it was a bunch of offers in the same price point or same price range. Everyone had a strength over the other, or a potential strength.
Get it. So yeah, I get it. So this offer to pay $2,500 over the appraisal, right?
Yeah.
So now what is the difference? What's the delta between their 25 over and what the sales price was? Did you say it was $4,000?
It's $2 grand. So
okay.
So I needed 228 plus their 2,500 to get to the sales price, contract price, which was 230,500.
Okay, you're only 2,000 apart. So
yeah, right.
Did the you said how long ago did the appraisal come in? Number one, and they haven't put it in writing yet to reduce the price, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And how long ago did the appraisal received?
About 20 minutes ago.
Okay, so you just now got the appraisal.
Just got it, yeah, on this call.
Okay, they've got 5 days to put it in writing to you to reduce the price. If the buyer fails to do that, then the sales price is the sales price. So you can lay low and try and, you know, run the clock out. That's a little bit mean to do that. I probably wouldn't do that, but think about that. Keep that in the back of your mind. You might be able to use that as leverage. So for all of you that don't know that, there's a clause in the contract that if the sales price comes in low, the appraisal comes in low, that the buyer has to notify within 5 days in writing that they want to reduce the price or cancel. And if they don't do that, and sometimes people run the clock out trying to negotiate, but it's not in writing, and then they blow past that time frame, and then the buyer has to buy the house no matter what. If you're $2,500 apart, I would say something like, maybe, are they taking the house as is?
But the house is in great shape.
Okay, but so for instance, are they, did they ask for repairs?
They did, and it was denied.
Okay, so they're okay taking it without repairs.
There wasn't really any repairs to really speak of. It was just kind of throw some things on the Binzer and see where it goes.
Yeah, you need to talk to your client and try and convince your client that they're not getting screwed. And you did that very well by giving them comps and telling the client, look, you've gotten the most. Congratulations, you just got the highest cost per sale in the whole neighborhood. So why don't we go back to the seller and see if we can split it 50-50? That's
what I was thinking. That's exactly my thoughts. But in normal, I mean, that would be the automatic thing I would think of too normally. But this buyer already is putting 2,500 over appraisal. So it just
that's okay.
I think maybe 50. Okay, cool.
It's a seller's market, man. Your seller, you got to go to bat for your seller. Here's one thing, you guys. Whether you're representing a buyer or you're representing a seller, They may, there's lots and lots of times when I get so frustrated because either my buyer or my seller is being greedy or doing something silly that makes no sense. And so, but I never want to be the bad guy. You never want to be the bad guy. You let the other guys be the bad guy. So you just say to them, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go to them and see what I can do. This is when behind the scenes, you're calling that other agent and doing your deal. So you guys are going to be talking to the other agent and say, look, man, my seller's being a little crazy. You think you can get your buyer to do a 50-50? And then maybe I'll kick in 5 and you can kick in 5 and we'll be done and we'll move on. You know, everybody's participating. You know, the sellers always think we make too much money. The buyers always think we make too much money. So sometimes you can throw in $250 credit and the deal's done and you move on.
Yeah.
So that's the best way, but don't let yourself be the buyer or be the bad guy, you guys. Sometimes when you try and convince your client of something that's in their best interest and they don't see it that way, then you're going to create tension between you and them. They're going to think you're not in it for them. You're in it for something else. So just be careful with that. Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
My mom just walked in the door. I'm at her house.
Cool.
So, all right, we'll keep going, guys. What else do we have? More questions? This is actually working out pretty good.
I have to get going, but thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome, Bridget. Good luck. What are you going to do? Where are you going?
I have to go show a couple properties right now. So.
All right. Well, remember, tell those clients of yours, share with them the 95% and give them the bad news. Okay?
I will. Thank you so much.
Front it. You got it.
I have a question. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So when you go on a listing appointment now, are you having any problem with sellers that say, oh, I don't know really what's happening, you know, like with COVID and all that? Is the market going to crash? Should I not list now? Should I wait? Have you experienced any of those kind of questions? Or?
Oh, yeah. Every single day.
Okay.
So what I tell people is this. I say, look, you know, it's super hard to time the market. I honestly thought 2 years ago the market was going to slow down. December of 2018, interest rates went up to 5%, and the market came to a pretty quick halt. Any of you guys that were in the business back then know that. So December of 2018, we were thinking, oh, okay, this is it. Maybe this is the adjustment, but it didn't happen, and things are still going. So what I tell clients about Arizona in particular is, you know, if you're trying to time the market, I wouldn't do that. You know, if you need to sell, go ahead and sell, because we just don't know. I mean, you're talking about a listing, right? Where they want a seller.
Yes.
Yeah. You could tell them, I mean, I tell people, I say, you know, you could hold on another year and sell in a year and you probably will make more money, because I expect interest rates to remain low for at least the next 12 months. Reason being that real estate is now really one of the only bright spots besides tech in the economy right now. So I expect them to keep interest rates low, which is what's driving our market right now. And then being in Arizona, you know, we are, we're located. Why is that not working? Hold on, I got to go plug my thing in. We're located, conveniently next to California. We got Colorado up there. We got Washington State. All of these people and a lot of people from the Midwest are continuing to move into Arizona. We have got about 300 people a day moving to Arizona. So I would think that our market is going to continue going. So, you know, if you don't have to sell your house right now.
Uh-oh. You guys all still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Everyone but Neil. Well, it's one way to end the call.
Yeah.
Huh.
Let's see if he helps.
That was good stuff. Yeah.
He's good. We just lost him though.
Yeah. Any
questions for me? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know anything.
Yeah. No, but I also like what Justin said, Justin Gerstenov, about when he's at a listing appointment about some of the limited stuff that those companies will do, because I have seen that too, where listing agents put in there, please call the seller, Jack and Lisa, to negotiate, you know, with all contracts. And you're like, what? You know,
yeah.
so.
Matthew, are
Yes.
you in Southern California or Northern California?
Southern California.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We miss you.
I know we miss Arizona, trust me, but you know, the happy life, happy wife thing, we had to come back because of my son in the Navy, but
Okay.
it's good here. I get to the beach all that I can because that's the one great thing about here. You know what I mean? So
I was out there in December. It was beautiful, man. I didn't want to come back home. I love Arizona, but man, I was there and I was like, I don't want to leave.
yeah.
And the water, I was like, let's go be cold. It wasn't cold at all. You know, we jumped in and might have been 45, 50, but it was beautiful. I saw the sun. It's so nice out there.
It's amazing. And the great thing about here is price points are higher. So you don't, you know what I mean? Medium home price right here is what, 703? 710,000. So when I was in Prescott, it was a few years ago, but you know, things were 350, 450. So, you know, here it's great. The commissions are great based on price point and stuff. So it's nice. Lots of, I'm also a member of the Santa Barbara MLS because I'm in Ventura, which we border Santa Barbara, where Oprah has a house, Ellen has a house. A lot of other people have houses there. And it's like, I see these listings come in on the
class. So
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, we wish my home group was in California. We love my home group. Yeah.
I hear you, Neil. Does everyone else hear Neil?
I hear him.
Good.
Sorry, guys. I'm back with my phone now.
All right.
That was so weird. I was plugged into a plug that was that went to the switch on the side of the thing, you know, for like a lamp, I guess. And so it was turned off. So my battery ran out. Sorry about that, everybody.
No, we called your mom and told her, hey, we want to see how Neil handles an objection of not having technical computer. Let's see what he does. Let's see how he handles it. No.
That is so funny. So funny. But anyways, where was I? What was I talking about?
I don't remember. I don't know.
All right, well, let's keep going. Do we have another one?
Well, if anyone has questions, I mean, technically we're supposed to be done at noon, but if anybody has more questions and wants to keep chatting, have at it.
Yeah.
How about, okay, let me throw some out here, okay? Let's see. I don't want to pay 6% commission to sell my home. You guys ever get that one?
Yes.
Okay. Well, a good objection to that is, well, number one, you only pay me if I sell your house. Okay. I'm going to take all of the I'm going to pay for all the marketing. I'm going to take all of the risk. I'm going to do all the phone calls. I'm going to do all of this. I'm going to do all the vetting. I'm going to do everything for you. Okay. And I charge 6% for that, but you're only going to pay me if I sell your house. Okay. Now, and then that's when you launch into, and by the way, the easy part is going to be selling your house. Honestly, getting the contract is not going to be difficult, not in this market. But what is difficult is what comes after we sell your house. And that's 95% of my job. And then you just go on and on. Hey, have you ever been to, so let me ask you, Mr. Buyer, and I'm kind of, I guess I'm being a little funny here, but have you ever been to mediation before?
Yeah.
And they'll go, what do you mean? What's mediation? Oh, well, it's happening all the time now. If you look at the statistics, mediation is up like 9,000%. Well, what's mediation? Well, mediation is what happens when you get a buyer that paid top dollar for a house and they get into the house and then they have buyer's remorse and they're upset. And then they start looking at stuff and things start happening with the house. And then they want to go out and go after somebody. Okay. I just had one, and this is the truth. I just had one that closed a couple of weeks ago, and the buyer sent an email after they moved in, and they said that the pool the pool filter that was replaced during the inspection was a shoddy filter and that it wasn't working properly, and she wanted money. Not only that, she started saying other things. She said, oh, but now I'm seeing there's pigeons that are roosted in the attic. The pool is green and now the pool needs to be resurfaced. I had an electrician come in here and say that all the wiring is aluminum wiring and it's old, and you didn't disclose that. And what was the other thing? Something with the plumbing. So she wanted $15,000. Okay, $15,000. So what happens then, Mr. Seller, when you go with a limited service agent, or you're trying to sell your house on your own? What do you do then? They go, oh, I don't know. Well, you hire an attorney, and attorneys cost, they're going to want a $5,000 retainer, and then they're going to charge you $250 an hour. So guess what? I don't charge $250 an hour. Okay. And I'm going to help avoid that. But if something like that does happen to you, it's going to happen after the sale. And I'm going to be there with you because I've been down this road before. Okay. You got to put the fear of God in these people, you guys. They don't understand all the stuff that can go wrong. That's why you're not going to list with some limited service person, because I mean, I guess it'll go okay for you, Mr. Seller, as long as everything goes perfect with your transaction, right? Ask the client, how many people do you think are involved in the transaction, Mr. Buyer or Mr. Seller? How many people are involved? Well, there's hundreds of people. If you look at underwriters, and if you look at a buyer and their motivation, the inspectors, the appraisers, the repairmen, all these kind of people come in. And if everything goes perfect, great. But if it doesn't, let me tell you something, it's going to cost you a lot more than 6% or whatever the difference is between what I'm asking and what somebody else is.
Yeah, I know John Dyer does a contract training, and his analogy is it's a real estate contract from beginning to end. It's like walking through a minefield. There's all these mines, like low appraisal, inspection problems, all these different things. And he always says, tell the clients, I'm protecting you like a titanium umbrella from all these things that can happen, like putting that fear in that you're talking about. I mean, right. It's true. It does happen.
It happens all the time, you guys. The difference is most realtors are lucky that they don't have to experience what I experienced. I had a lawsuit that went on for 10 years.
Wow.
Where I was being sued for $2 million. Cost me a lot of money to prove that I was right. And you got to tell your clients this, both buyers and sellers. You got to tell them, you got to say, look, you can be as innocent as the new fallen snow, and you're going to have to prove it though. And it's going to cost you money to do that. And if you go out and you get your relative who just got their real estate license, that's one objection. If you go with a limited service agent and all that kind of stuff, you better hope that everything goes perfect. Honestly. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Okay. Let me see what else we got here. Is everybody hanging on still?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. Beatrice, do you have any questions? Come on, Beatrice. Everybody's being shy. What about you, Nicole? Wait, there's Beatrice. Wait, there's Beatrice. Go ahead, Beatrice.
My partner here, Sandra, has a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not so much an objection, but it's just at the moment, you talked a lot about how difficult the market is. And I'm having huge difficulty with investors, with people. Well, in the new build, basically, I don't know if people know this or not, but most of the new builders around here won't even sell to investors. And then, of course, so many people coming from different parts of, of our own country are putting sellers off, like they don't want out of town buyers, because they're going to go off and, put in 10 offers or whatever. Whereas these are, one of the investors, actually an agent, she was here for years in Arizona, and now she's up in Oregon. So it's just like, have you any hints for how to You know, I mean, these people have literally 400,000 sitting in their little paw. You know, I don't need lenders. I don't need anything. I just need a house. And
Right.
and I've been at it for I'm very analytical. I've run all the reports. I run everything they need, all the rental reports, everything they want. But we can't find the house.
Yeah, investors are tough because I've always kind of shied away from them. I'll work with an investor when I have to, or if they drop in my lap, because unless it's the perfect deal, they'll run you ragged. And then, you know, say, nah, it's not good enough, or no, this isn't good enough. I would say if I had an investor right now, what price point?
Well, one is like kind of 400 to 450, but they're looking down in like Santan Valley, Queen Creek. And the other is tougher because it's about 350, and they're looking up kind of north towards Anthem and Glendale area.
Are they going to live in the house, or they just want it as a pure investment?
It's pure investment. One doesn't even live in the country and the other lives in Oregon. Okay,
then go to Buckeye. Go to Buckeye and Eloy. Go to, these places are emerging. Coolidge, you can get a new construction in Coolidge, which is right down near Casa Grande. They're building a big power plant or a big battery plant down there. These are good investments.
Beautiful house for her down there. I had an absolute steal of a house because just by absolute luck, I showed up on the first day they'd released these houses. But oh, it was too, like you say, they've every objection under the sun. I mean, I absolutely knew that it was the best value I could get anywhere in this city. It was the best value.
But it wasn't good enough for the investor.
No, it wasn't good enough. And here I am, like 3 weeks later, being, you know, jerked around, and they need so much, you know, it's analysis paralysis. Like it's.
Yeah, they'll run you out to go film it and do all this, and they'll go, nah.
Yeah.
Like that. That you spent like 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I hate investors, actually. I really don't like investors.
Yeah,
and that's why.
The problem about this investor is I've known her for 25 years.
Right, so they're friends.
Yeah, and I worked with her and I worked with her husband, and then the other one is a former colleague, not of mine, but of theirs. So it's, I mean, I say it every night. If they were regular ones by now, I'd have run for the bushes, but I can't. I'm not going to break a friendship in 25 years over a stupid house. You know what I mean?
No, but what you could do is you could go to those Coolidge houses and do all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure you probably told him this, but what I tell people about new construction is I say, okay, look, you're going to buy in right here. They're going to sell 3 more houses, and then they're going to raise the base price up to here.
Exactly.
They're going to sell 3 more, and they're going to raise it up to here. Okay, so by the time 8 months from now you're in that house, the base price is going to be way up here, and you bought in down here. So this is the best way to go right now, and you'll have a new house. It won't cost you anything as far as maintenance and all that. So that's my suggestion. And if it's too rich for you guys right now, I totally get it. Maybe maintain the relationship for when we have the crash. You know what I mean? That's all you can do. And a lot of times I just tell people, I just say, well, you know what? Unless you have to buy a house right now, don't. If you really don't want to do that, just agree with them. Don't, like you said, Beatrice, don't fight them. Or you're not Beatrice. Beatrice is the other one. You don't want to fight them. You don't want to lose that relationship. So at some point, if they're just not feeling it, you just got to back off and move on to somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, good luck with that. But that's the only thing I can say. It sounds like you're in the right direction. But just that, hey, they raised the base price. They raised the base price. By the way, this is what's happening down in that area. So yeah, you may feel like you're paying too much for this house, but a year from now, you're not going to feel that way.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. What about Marcy or Macy? Macy, do you got something for me? Come on, Macy. You're muted. I can't hear you. What about Emily? Oh, there's Macy. There. Okay. What do you got, Macy? You got a question?
Honestly, I'm just a really new agent. I'm just kind of trying to get some information. as far as I've never listed or anything, so this is just kind of helpful as to what I do or can use possibly for next deals. Yeah.
Have you sold or bought a house before?
I have helped. I've had two. Well, right now, my one house doesn't close until March, so still have another month until that. And then I'm trying to help a couple find a place right now as well.
Okay. So the biggest problem for you probably, and it's funny, real estate, which is a good thing for me, is that when you get a little age on you, it actually helps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that you probably sometimes don't feel confident because, and I was the same way when I first got into real estate, because it's like, who wants to be the heart surgeon's first patient, you know?
Yeah.
So I totally get that. So what you need to do is just have a strong, kind of be honest, be who you are. Don't ever lie. Tell people, not that you would, but you know, people are going to know you're new. So your big way to handle that is to say, guess what? You know, I work with so-and-so. You can even say you work with me. You can say, oh yeah, I work with Neil. And, you know, Neil's been in the business 20 years and he and I are going to be the team working for you. I'm going to get you in places and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And guess what? You're my only client right now. So you're going to get my undivided attention.
Yeah.
Okay. When we have to go in for the kill, then I've got some pretty solid backup in my office that can help me. That way, because you know, this is objection handling, because you know that in the back of their mind, anybody working with you is going to think, I like her. She's super nice, but I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. And that's kind of something I've been trying to think about in ways I can like show people that I'm willing to put in that amount of work. And it's nice because, well, not that I have a lot of experience, but the fact that I can put so much time and effort into one deal if I get one, or
That's right. They're going to have your undivided attention, number one. And number two, you can tell them, you know, you work for one of the largest real estate companies and you've got a broker or you've got a top agent or somebody like that that is going to be with you all the way through. So if we run into a problem, I'm going to be able to ask that person. You just have to confront it straight on. And I'll tell you, it'll make you feel better and it'll make the clients feel better because they're thinking about it. Okay. So the clients you're working with now, the best thing you could do is to somehow work that into the conversation when you're looking at houses. You can say, you know, you guys might be a little bit nervous because I haven't done this very much, but I got to tell you, I got so-and-so because I don't want anything bad to happen to you. I'm going to get you in these houses and we're going to do this. And then when it comes to writing a contract, I'm going to have so-and-so go over everything. And maybe even we'll do a 3-way phone conversation or something like that if you have questions and I can't answer them. And there's plenty of agents that'll help you do that. I mean, I'd help you do it, okay, if you get to that point.
Okay.
So just tell them that, you know, hit it right up front. And the other thing to do when you're a new agent is to don't send somebody stuff, you know, wait until late at night or early in the morning or in the middle of the day. Send them stuff at all different times of the day. Okay. So even if it's like 11 o'clock at night and you just woke up off the couch, you know, I've done this before where I'll have all the homes that I want to send them, but I'll wait until 11 o'clock at night to send it, you know? And then they're like, oh my God, you're working at 11 o'clock at night? I'm like, well, yeah, man, I got to be up. I got to hit those listings as soon as they hit that market. I want to get them over to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Show them how hard you're working for them.
Yes. Okay. I will do that.
All right. What about Emily? Is it Katie?
Thank you, Neil.
Okay. You're welcome. Emily?
I'm actually in this. Yeah. Hi. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm actually in the.
I was going to put you on the spot like this.
That's okay. I'm actually in the same boat as Macy. I'm brand new. I'm actually working on getting my license, so I'm just kind of listening in and getting some advice. So thank you.
What did you do before real estate?
I'm actually working for a small business company right now. So I kind of have the phone experience and, you know, just kind of dealing with customers and customer service end. So I'm hoping that will kind of help me as I move into this field.
Oh, it definitely will. And you can use that with people. You can say, yeah, I've been handling customer problems with this company for blah, blah, blah years.
Perfect.
And now you're going to be my only customer and I'm going to handle it just for you. So, perfect. Well, good luck. Good luck in your career. Let's see who else we have here.
Hey, Neil, I was going to add something real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just think in every industry I've worked in, you know, over my years, I feel like, especially restaurant industry here, whatever, confidence is so key. So the people that are young or new, if the client knows you, likes you, trusts you, and has that rapport, if you're just always confident about, you know, I've only done this a few months, let me get the answer. Or I like to use a lot of times, I'm not comfortable giving you the final answer on that question. I'd like to have a broker say it. It just kind of buys you a little more time to get the answer and sounds like you really are protecting them, or just a couple things you can hide behind. And at my home group, you guys, you know, the broker hotline and the agent helpline are available Monday through Sunday, 9 to 9, and they're almost immediate response, and you can text them as well. So another good selling feature is letting clients know, if you choose me and hire me, you're getting the whole brokerage. I mean, we have so much camaraderie, so much banter in the Facebook mastermind, you know, all these opportunities to get the right answer for the client. So just, I guess my main advice is confidence. Just make sure they know they can trust you. Yep.
Such a good point, Kelly, because when you're a new agent, that's what you want to do. You want to sell the fact that you've got this horsepower behind you with the brokerage. And and never hide behind the fact that you are who you are and what you are. Just be who you are, you know, and the people are going to really like it. As long as you can, you know, alleviate their anxiety. And that's what it all is. It's alleviating their, if you want to put it in a nutshell, it's alleviating their anxiety, because that's what it all boils down to. You just got to think of how that would, how you can do that, you know, and a lot of these objections are because they have anxiety, you know, about their biggest anxiety is they want to get the most bang for their buck. And that's why you got to turn the tables and let them know about the 95% of the job. Okay. And that can be 95% on both sides. That's not just the listing side. That's also on the buyer side, how you're going to protect that buyer. So let's see. Do we have any other questions? What about you, Nicole? You were going to say something earlier.
Kind of. I'm in the same boat as the other two, brand new, except for I just got my license about a month or so ago. Haven't had any listings, any showings, just kind of, you know, learning and seeing how I can.
Right. What do you, how are you going to get your buyers?
So I'm working with a team and we've got a bunch of leads. So right now it's just using a platform to contact them.
Okay, so you're banging the phones? You're banging the phones right now, calling those leads?
So I've been emailing and texting. We were going to do call nights, but then my whole family got COVID. So we've all been, you know, sitting at home for 3 weeks. It was nothing, no worries. But that whole house. So.
Got it. Okay, well, good. You got some leads coming in, which is nice. The biggest thing you have to try and do is convert those leads. They're probably internet leads. They're maybe are strong or maybe aren't strong.
Yep.
Okay, so you're gonna get a lot of rejection for that, but it's good. What's the first thing you say to them when you get somebody on the phone?
So like I said, I haven't actually talked to someone on the phone and had a good conversation. So that's something that I need to go into because I used to work for a phones company. That's all I've done. But with real estate, I'm like, well, what do I really say to them when I first get them on the phone? I don't know how to gauge the conversation and direct it, I guess.
Sure. You know, when I get somebody that's brand new like that, I'll warm them up a little bit and just say, hey, how you doing? I'm so-and-so, da, 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 da. So tell me about your plans. That's all you got to say. Tell me about your plans. Because the best thing to do is to, as you know, doing phone work, is to listen, to try and get them to talk as much as possible. Yep. You know, when you get on the phone, you got to ask open-ended questions. You don't want to ask questions where they can answer it with a yes or a no. Yep. You got to talking like, so tell me what your plans are. How do you feel about this area? What do you think about that? You know what I mean? Who's your agent? That's a good question, because everybody always says, I'm working with another agent. Like if you go into an open house and you're going to be doing open houses, you know, one of the ways you ask questions, it makes a big difference. So if you go in and you're sitting in your open house and somebody comes in, the way that their objection, which is, you know, because they're objecting to being sold to, their objection would be, oh, I'm working with another agent, right? Yeah. That's an objection. But what you should do before they can even say that is when somebody comes in, you introduce yourself, you know, you go, hey, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of an open house thing now. And then you work it in before they can say, you say, by the way, who are you working with? Like you're assuming they're working with an agent. And then they can't think of an answer quick enough, right? They can't think of an answer quick enough. So they go, I'm not working with anybody. You go, oh, okay. You know, you don't dive into them then. But see, there's certain ways to ask questions and certain ways to do that. But we will save that for a whole other training thing someday. Yeah. All right. Well, good luck, Cole. I wish you the best. And also the other new agents, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see here. Who else do we have? We got Justin. We got Randy. We did Emily. Max. Is that Max? Max Cunningham. Are you there, Max? I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Max.
It was Max earlier with the appraisal question, the one that had the
it was today. Max question. Okay, good. So I did get Max. Okay. What about Holly? Did I talk to you, Holly?
No, I think Holly said earlier she wouldn't be able to talk.
Oh, she wouldn't? Okay. Do we have everybody then?
I have someone trying to get in right now.
Okay.
Brad Katie. Oh, is that Emily's person maybe? Same last name? I would assume.
Yes, it is my husband. He's actually been an agent for about a year. So we're eventually going to do that kind of as a team.
Oh, cool.
So.
Hey guys.
Oh, that'll be nice. I tried to do the team thing with my wife, and as soon as I asked her to throw something on the scanner and do a couple of like administrative things, that's when it started breaking down a little bit. So
Brad, Brad, what brokerage are you with?
EXP Revelation.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Any question?
Not at this time. No, I was just kind of hopping on here. I know I'm very late to the party, but I was busy and I figured I'd just kind of jump in and
listen.
And I'm sure I'll have some questions as we keep going here.
What's the hardest objection you come up against all the time?
Oh, geez. Well, the classic open house. Oh, I'm already working with an agent, and you know it's not true. You know.
Yeah. You just came in a little bit late. I just answered that one.
Okay, I believe it.
No, this is what you do. This is what you do. Before they can say that, okay, like a lot of people say something like, are you working with an agent, right? Because you want to qualify them.
Sure.
Worst way to ask that question. What you got to say to them is, so who is your agent? You know what I mean? And then you catch them off guard and they can't think of it quick enough. A name. So that'll move the ball forward dramatically. And the worst thing you want to do is say something like, oh, did you sign anything with them? Because we just don't want to do that. You know what I mean? We just don't want to do that because it just makes us look like we're groveling or we're a little bit sinister or,
Sure.
you know, I guess is the word. So I would be really careful about that. But yeah, the best way to do that, to handle that one at an open house, is just to say, who's your agent? And 9 times out of 10, they can't come up with one quick enough. And then, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so try it that way. All right. And then as far as the open house goes, I usually let people just, I kind of introduce myself at the door. I give them the handouts and I take them through basically the stats of the house real quick. Now this takes less than 30 seconds. And then I let them go on their own. Okay. That way you kind of broke the ice a little bit and all of that. Then you walk out into the backyard when they're walking around the house. Okay, because they're eventually going to go to the backyard and you don't want to look like you're following them around. So you just wait out in the backyard, pretend like you're on your phone. When they walk out in the backyard, that's when you give them the MLS printout that's got taxes and all that. And you say, okay, by the way, here, this shows the taxes and all that. Now you're warming them up a little bit. That's when you throw in, so are you guys live in the neighborhood? You know, you want to find out if they live in the neighborhood. Get them to talk. You know, you ask them questions like that and then find out what their story is. You'll be amazed what people will tell you. All right. But that's how you kind of handle that. That's how you engage them in the open house. Go out into the backyard. I know that sounds weird, but it works every time.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Try it out. See how it works. Okay. Let's see here. What do I have? Let me see. There's some.
Neil?
Yes.
It looks like Holly is still on and she's the one that can't talk, but looking at the list of questions that were submitted, she said buyers or sellers that refuse to bend on the Binzer.
Okay. Yeah, we kind of had that earlier with another agent. So this is what I do, and it depends on the magnitude of it and all that. So it's hard for me without the context to know. But let's lay the groundwork that it's a Binzer. You're representing the seller, and your seller is like, no, I'm not fixing anything. Okay. What you try and do is you explain to the seller, not that you don't want to go in and say, oh, well, your deal could blow up then. You know, you can kind of say that, but you don't want to go out of the gates with that because they're going to think again, you just want to get an easy commission. You know, that's what they think. So what you're going to say is you're going to explain to them what I was saying earlier about certain things. You're going to say, you know what, Mr. Seller, we got a reasonable price for your house. Don't tell them, you know, we got the best price ever, because they're never going to believe it no matter what. It could have been the best price ever. But if you tell them that, they're going to, you know, whatever. That's just how people are. So you just say, you know what, we got a reasonable offer. I believe it's a reasonable offer. In fact, it's the highest cost per square foot ever. So it's definitely a reasonable offer on your house. What we have to move to now, we're moving into a different phase in this transaction. And so what I want to do is protect you after the sale. Remember, it's all about the client. You always have to make it about the client. Okay. So you say, listen, your buyer, I want to protect you after the sale. And we're at record numbers of litigation after a real estate transaction closes. Now you might say, well, why is that, Neil? Well, the reason is because people are paying top dollar for houses now. Okay. This guy, you may not feel like it, but I'm sure your buyer feels like they just paid more, way more than they should have for your house. And they're asking you for some repairs to do. Okay. Now that's great. They can ask and you can say no. But, you know, if you want to keep this deal when this deal closes, they might accept that. They might take the house without repairs. Okay. But after you close a month from now, they may get buyer's remorse and they may think that you were not telling them everything about the house. Because let's say 3 days after they move in, the water heater goes out or they get a roof leak. or the air conditioner stops working, or something, anything happens, okay? They're going to be mad and they're going to try and go after you. All right. So what we want to do is we want to set up barriers around you after the sale. Now, how do we do that? Number one, we let the buyer do a home inspection, right? How many home inspections they want to do. We let the buyer do the home inspection. Then the buyer comes to you, right, and asks for repairs. Now, for me, we can negotiate some of these repairs, but I would advise for you to do some of these repairs, at least the big ones, okay? So now the buyers had a chance to do a home inspection. They've asked for repairs. You've negotiated and made some repairs for them. Or maybe we can give them a credit instead of doing the repairs, okay? Then, let's say you do some of these repairs are made. Then the client's going to have a final walkthrough, okay? And they're going to have to accept the house, okay? And then on top of that, and this is where my buyers go crazy, or my sellers go crazy sometimes, but until I explain it to them, and I say, you know what? I'd throw a home warranty on there too. It's going to cost you maybe $600-700, but I would throw a home warranty on there in addition to some of these little repairs, because now you've set up all these barriers so that after the sale happens and it closes and they have buyer's remorse, okay, and their uncle happens to be an attorney who can work for free, right? You're going to be protected because you've done all these things, and it's going to be super hard for the buyer to come back to you afterwards. Now they can, because people can sue for anything, okay? But doing these little repairs might save you tens of thousands of dollars after the fact in legal fees and things like that. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what you're doing is you're turning the tables on the seller who thinks, well, why should I make any repairs in this kind of a market? Well, it's because we're in a kind of a market where buyers are suing people left and right. That's why. Make them bleed.
And I've done that, Neil, where you actually say here $2,000 towards, credit towards the repairs. And later, if the buyers try to come back and say, oh no, this and this and that, any court of law will see that you gave them a credit for repairs. So they already accepted that. So that does protect you, saving you tens of thousands, if not more.
That's right. All it takes is somebody who want to do mediation or attorney. You never know, guys. You could be selling a house to somebody who, is buying their first house. They don't have a lot of money. They're not sophisticated buyers and all that, but they got an uncle who's an attorney who's going to go after you, go after your seller, and go after everybody else. Okay. So you just got to be careful with all that kind of stuff. But that's a great way to handle these objections, by telling people the truth of what could really happen.
Yeah.
Agents don't think about that. Agents say, oh, well, you really should. It's not that much money. And maybe I'll give you some commission to do it and all this. Make them bleed. Okay, let's see what else we have here. I have a friend or a family member selling real estate. Did you guys ever get that one? My nephew just got his real estate license. How do you handle that one? Okay, I'll tell you guys. The easiest way to handle that one, honestly, first of all, you can't trash the person. You go, look, I understand. If something went wrong during the transaction and you had to go to court or get sued, would that put a big strain on your family relationship? And I mean, I understand the pressure you're under right now because it's your nephew or whatever. But would that put strain on that? And they say, well, yeah, it probably could. And I'll say, well, look, I know that, you feel kind of bad about doing this. I could pay them a referral fee if it makes it any easier. And then you can just tell them that the lender recommended me and that they're going to get some benefit with the lender for working with me that they want to get. And then I'll pay your nephew, 10%. I'll give them a referral fee, and then they can ride along and learn if they want it. So that's really the only way to kind of handle that one. You know, just give them a little gravy to the, you know, it might cost you $500, but you'll get the deal. It works pretty good most of the time. Okay, let's see here. Who else do we have? We got Nicole, Macy, Randy, Emily, Brad. Did we do Brad already? Brad, Katie? Yeah, oh yeah, we did. Emily, Brad. That's right. That's right. Okay. I think we got everybody.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Are we doing okay? You guys want to keep going?
I got to run though for another meeting, but thank you, Neil. It was super informative. So
you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Good luck out there. It's a rough world out there.
Yeah, California. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
See you guys.
I can't even imagine. It's probably like Scottsdale times 10.
Yes, it is. It's craziness. But all right, see you guys. You're wonderful. Thank you so much.
You got it. Well, I hope I've been helpful to everybody. I hope I've given you guys a little bit to chew on. Kelly has my listing presentation that has a lot of things in there that I've kind of talked about. And I think you guys might find that useful. Kelly's going to email that out to everyone. If anybody has any individual questions, or if they come up and have a problem that they run into, you know, we're all My Home Group family, and we're all here to help you and help answer your stuff. So let me get rid of this call. So, sorry, that was a call coming in. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So feel free to reach out to me. Kelly could send everybody my email and contact information if it's not in there already. And I'm working 7 days a week. So if you have a quick question about something, just text me and I'll call you back. Okay?
Yep, it was awesome, Neil. Thank you.
All right, you bet. Take care, everybody, and good luck.
Bye, guys.
Bye.